You're listening to The Talent Sync, a collaborative podcast production from JobSync and the Surveil Candy Benchmark Research Program. The Talent Sync is about anything and everything recruiting and hiring. Literally the kitchen sink and how all things in talent acquisition work together, should work together, and how sometimes they don't. Now it's time to sync up with your hosts, Leah Daniels and Kevin Grossman. Leah, I got a question for you.
Oh, I love questions.
Have you seen any purple squirrels lately?
No, but you know what I have seen? A lot of people hunting them. So many companies hunting them.
Hence this immediate segue, right? Immediate segue into the topic that we were prepping for before we launched into the recording. But how are you, though? First and foremost, how you doing?
I am fabulous. It is mid-March.
It is.
I am looking forward to spring. I'm done with winter. We can box that bad boy up, put him on the shelf. Let's move to spring, flowers, warm weather, no snow.
I should have
all the important things.
I should come visit you because so I was just in Philly for the I Am Phenom conference, and it was in the 70s.
You got the best 2 days of the week.
It was gorgeous weather, and right before that, it was 30 degrees and piles of snow. And in the next few days, supposedly, that it's going back to that again, which I know happens in the Northeast and the Midwest. Not where I live, thankfully, because I'm not a snow person. So I hope that you get your spring time, because it's now, and we're also having unprecedented. How many times have we said that word in the past 6 years, right?
Or properly said it ever.
Unprecedented heat wave in California. So next week in Santa Cruz, in March, it's in the 80s, low 80s all week.
We had what we call false spring. That's where it makes you think you're having spring, but you're not having spring.
Is that like the Punxsutawney Phil thing? The gopher? Is it a gopher? What is that? It's a hedgehog?
It's a groundhog. It's a groundhog. It's not a hedgehog. It's groundhog. We call groundhogs yard monsters at my house.
Is it Sonic the Hedgehog? Is that?
It is not Sonic the Hedgehog. He's not very fast either. You could probably catch him.
Got it.
But I don't know what he said, but he lies all the time.
Punxsutawney Phil. Is that how you say it? Is it?
Yes, but he lies all the time. He's like half the time he's wrong.
You had a false spring.
We have false spring.
Okay.
Now we're back to having winter.
Right,
anyway, but the squirrels are out, but they're not purple. And the squirrel hunters are out, and they are also not purple.
Oh,
but let's talk about it. Let's talk about this phenomenon that's happening.
So cue it up for us. What is it that you've been thinking about?
So we're seeing the rise in time to hire. I think you're seeing that.
Yep.
Our friends at Good Time put out a report recently. So that's creeping up to, on the high end, 68 days. On the high end average, 68 days off of 40 last year. So if you look at 2024 to 2025, we went from, I think, 44 days, according to Burson, to 63 to 68 days, according to Good Time. And why? Why is that happening, right? It's a good question. And it looks like a couple of things are converging at the same time. Obviously, the market is cooled, and so we have a slower hiring market. But there seems to be a phenomenon where more interviews are creeping up for a position, and the expectations of a superhuman worker, or a purple squirrel, as we always used to call them, has come back into the realm. We're back into that where it's no longer focused on the job and the skills. It's now like, are you in the top 5% of people who could do this job? And also, do you have other skills? Like, what's your AI skills look like? Are you a top 10% AI prompt engineer as well? Like, there seems to be a bloat happening on both the qualification side and on the verification side. So we're seeing bloat now in the process where we're double and triple checking on how human are you.
Well, and unfortunately, that's part of the AI escalation that we have talked about. That is something employers are having to deal with, because job candidates are using AI more to try to help them. So we've touched on that many, many times, and that's not going anywhere anytime soon. That's going to definitely continue. But the whole idea of, and I've heard this as well from some of the organizations that we worked with, not a lot yet, but that there is pressure now from the top down to streamline,
Yep.
to adopt AI tools and technologies across different functions. And this also means, finding those, you were calling them super workers before we started, but the purple squirrels, the individuals that maybe have a skill set of customer service or marketing or sales or whatever the role is. But yes, and are you a prompt engineer?
Yes.
Can you create agentic AI bots that are going to help us get work done? And we're just, I mean, again, we're just not there. And unfortunately, well, so let me talk about my friend. So my friend who's a school board member with me, on the local school board where I'm at, he's a technologist, really good guy, um, wife, two kids, younger than ours, and but he's smart, and he at one time a long time ago he worked for the CIA when he was much younger as an analyst. He can't tell me what he did, which is kind of our joke. I call him Jack Ryan from the novels and the movies. But he's now, for the company that he works for, he's got AI agents doing almost all the programming. He is the human oversight for this, the QA, if you want to call it, whatever. He's that layer, but he's doing a lot, and he loves this stuff, and I think it's great. But I think he's the anomaly. He's like the purple squirrel that we're talking about in this sense, because because there was that article that I also shared with you. I'm going to bounce around a little bit, but it's all related to the article about the workers who lost to steam engines didn't write the history books, losers didn't write the history books, right? And his article is talking about how in the past, when we've had technology disruptions and there's been displacement of workers, that these things have happened over decades, if not
Yeah.
longer, of time.
Yeah.
So there has been more opportunity for revamping, retraining, reabsorbing into the workforce without really seeing a lot of impact on the unemployment per se. Not, and it's a fascinating article because he's talking about everything going from hand loom weavers in the early 19th century England to all the way to today. But the reality, though, is that, and this relates to the purple squirrel thing, is that today it's not decades anymore. I mean,
No.
even in the past few years, it's just a few years now. And already we're seeing entry level. I mean, the data, the Anthropic report that everybody's been posting on LinkedIn too, right? What they've found is that there hasn't been a systemic increase in unemployment for highly exposed workers since 2022, but there is evidence, of course, that it's impacting younger workers, and we're talking about entry level. And I'll stop. I'll pose this question that we just said before we started recording. If I am decimating entry level, how am I going to get to super worker? Right?
So yeah,
Right?
and right, these are all parts of the same coin. We've got this reality of, and I want to be clear. I think that there are multiple factors that are hitting the
Yes.
entry level positions. I think remote work has not been favorable for
No,
students
not
coming out of
now.
school, going into professional environments. I think the remote work shift has been really difficult
Yeah.
for both companies and entry level positions coming into the workforce, having to be remote. I think it's been has not been as successful as everyone would like, which has turned companies off
Right.
from hiring that entry level worker. But your point of how do you take somebody from from college where they're starting to use AI, but it's not quite the way companies would use it. It's a little different. You
Because companies aren't quite the way that they even know they're using it yet either. I mean, we're still kind of
just
in
figuring it
this
out.
weird thing,
But
right?
there's a whole other layer in all of this too, which I think
Yeah.
is super interesting, which is, a lot of these solutions in market are going to market with this human in the loop, right? We need human oversight. And for sure, if you've played with any AIs and you've asked it to do the same thing 12 times in a row, you will get 12 different answers out of it. So it's not exactly a consistent output. And so it does need some oversight, to your point. But you are starting to see the rise of companies thinking about that next level. How do we eliminate the human oversight? What tasks don't need oversight at all? Where can we keep guardrails on? And if you think about that, we are only a few years since ChatGPT showed up and made AI something that is much more consumable, right? Somebody asked me the other day what I think of Sam Altman, and I was like, lots of opinions on Sam Altman, but what I will say is that he took a concept. People know about AI, movies, heard about it, and he consumerized it in a way that anybody can access it and start to understand what it's doing, right? The way the output rolls through the answer as opposed to just giving you an answer, right? There's a whole bunch of things that they did on the UI itself that really transformed how people think about AI. So we went from a truly transformative moment to we're now talking about human in the loop and now talking about eliminating the human in the loop. Like, to your point, like, we're moving faster than people are able to change everything they know to go do something else.
To adapt. And that was the point of that, again, that one article that we were just talking about. But it is something that it really gets you thinking, and it's kind of scary, right? Because when I think about my own kids, your kids, like, what I mean, right, like I've talked about this before. Our oldest wants to be a teacher, and I think we're excited. I think it's great. I know she'll be an amazing teacher, but what happens in 10 years? Is there a part of the multiverse where it's all AI teaching? Right. With maybe some humans still involved, but I mean,
a human in the loop.
Well,
little human oversight.
Like personalized, and maybe this is where private and charter schools go, right? I mean, I'm not a proponent. I mean, people do what they're going to do with their kids, right? I'm obviously a fan of public schools because I'm on the school board and I like our district. But what happens when, you can do personalized one-on-one instruction with an AI agent that's an avatar as well
that can track your eye movement and tell it you're not paying attention and
that can do. I mean,
prompt you back in.
I mean, we're struggling in our schools now just to keep our kids off their devices and stay off social media, and now we've got AI to contend with. But I mean, I just wonder. I wonder how's that going to impact the teaching profession in the future? Our youngest wants to go into marine science, marine biology. Well, we know a lot of research, a lot of the underling data crunching is going to be AI going forward. And then, what will that look like for them at some point? So I just, it's scary to me that now that you and I are talking about it, because I know that there are still those proponents that, the people pushing the AI are also the ones saying, because what was the other company that just laid off 1,600 people?
Square?
No, it wasn't
Jack Dorsey's company. Jack Dorsey's company.
Not Jack's company. It was another. Hold on, I'll tell you. Atlassian. They're cutting 10%, saying they're pivoting to AI. I mean, but there's that push for those, and then there are those that aren't really. They're not. They're just. I mean, right now, the global economy is it's a crap show basically right now with everything else that's going on, and now we've got the war in Iran, and companies are really like they can't, and even though yes, the tariffs were found to be illegal, it's just not changing anything yet. The calculus is the same, where they can't plan, forecast, and it's just impacting businesses up and down. So yeah, of course, hiring a slow dual crawl, but maybe this is also where they're quietly. It's another thing I've heard too. Quietly, even not doing backfilling anymore or cutting that portion. Yep. Can we get away with doing this here? And I, the whole thing is that the whole concept of our chat today about the purple squirrel, trying to find that is and increasing how long it's taking to go through. I mean, people are going to be miserable. Candidates, employees. I mean, I know
Yep.
engagement's lower than it's ever been anyway now. They're just absolutely miserable. And how and I, in our own data, I will say that it's not time for a Talent Sync break. The Talent Sync podcast is brought to you by JobSync and the Surveil Candy Benchmark Research Program. The Candies helps you and your organization measure and understand your overall candidate experience ratings from pre-application to onboarding. Benchmark your candidate experience today. Go to surveil.com/CANDS candies. Multiple interviews isn't what in our past research hasn't exactly deteriorated the candidate experience. It's the time. And if you start getting beyond 4, 5, and 6 interviews that are spread out over time, that is when things start to go south. And
the requirements on those interviews, right? So more and more, we're not just asking you to interview more, we're asking you to take more assessments. We're asking you now to do presentations, sometimes asking you to do work, right? And I think that the try before you buy, but in an interview process, which, FYI, based on what you're doing, could be illegal. So be careful with that. Is part of this reticence to make a decision.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of companies do have a lot of reticence on making decisions. And in this current market, even though employment is staying, it's creeping, but it's not shooting up. It is taking people longer to get a new job. So we are seeing that part.
Yeah.
But we're not actually seeing a huge rise in unemployment yet. I'm not sure what will happen in the future. My crystal ball is as good as yours.
Yeah, no,
I
don't. Yeah.
But you are seeing, I think, that sentiment of the economy is struggling because it's taking me a long time to find a new job, to find a replacement position for, again, that professional workforce. The hourly workforce continues on as it has been. We're not really seeing a lot of shifts in that. We're still seeing a lot of same number of openings.
Yeah, we are.
Same number of people applying.
When the worldwide interwebs came online, and I remember before the World Wide Web was really a public and official. I worked at a university. We had intranet, we had email, we could communicate with one another. We were all networked in the California State and UC systems, but then when the internet hit, there were fears of super unemployment, right?
Yep.
Because suddenly this is going to change, and it did. I mean, I wrote today. So again, as just an anecdote, when I was in my newsletter today, I was writing. I remember that when my wife and I were first dating, we used paper maps. We had road atlases.
Oh yeah,
paper maps.
Yeah, in your glove box. That's where they went.
That's how we navigated. We did it, and then came MapQuest, right? MapQuest came, and then people were printing out their maps from MapQuest. That's what
many printouts
of MapQuest, right? But then Google Maps came out, GPS and smartphones, and now.
Garmin?
But then my question is because it was prompted by that other article I read earlier, what? I mean, yes, there are still paper maps, and there are still people that buy them, and you can still buy a road atlas. But where did all those people go? The ones that were creating the maps and designing them and
the map walkers.
I mean, where did they go? And because now we don't think twice. I mean, could I use a map today? Yes. Could my kids? No. Probably not.
No, I wouldn't know where to start.
No.
It'd be upside down, inside out.
So, but again, what happened to, but this happens all the time, right? So that's why we keep thinking, but it's happening faster and faster.
Well, I think it's not even that. So if you think about the map industry, it's kind of a microcosm, right? That was impacted.
Yeah.
And to the individuals impacted was probably somewhat of a macro event, but is a microcosm. The thing that is interesting about what's happening now is that the proliferation of AI, and to the degree that people are buying into the AI is costing jobs, although I would say the data doesn't actually say that.
Not yet.
Data says right now that we're still in a for every job that is lost from AI by the new, I'm calling for the news. 3 are still being created because of people creating new applications and products and use cases for AI. So like there is still a trade-off in which we are growing opportunities higher than we are losing opportunities. So that is a thing to, keep in mind. I think a lot of the AI constriction of the job market is related more closely to other economic factors that are happening and have less to do with AI. AI is just an excuse, and it's a good way to tell your investors that we're cutting jobs that we don't have to replace because AI is going to do them instead. That's a much better story to tell the stock market than market's slow and we're having a hard time selling stuff, so we're gonna reduce our workforce. Correct. Right? Like it's a very different story that way.
Right.
But I do think there's a microcosm that's been happening, and now that's just happening at a macro, level. We're seeing it across every industry, every function. There isn't anything that's not being touched today, and that I think is why it feels so much bigger because it is. It's bigger. It has more legs.
And another it does, and another thing in that Anthropic report again, I haven't even finished reading through it yet, but just one of the things which I'm still trying to unpack in my head is that the workers that were the most exposed professions are more likely to be older female, more educated and higher paid.
Interesting.
That one I haven't finished the report, so I can't comment yet on the why of that or according to their data, but I'm like, that's anyway, and that's not good for me and having 2 daughters either, going forward. But I mean, so let's as we so what to do then, right? I mean, what would be what like think about the organizations you work with, and I'm thinking about the organizations I work with. How do we mitigate the pressure from business leadership to find those purple squirrels that can do this work if we're not training, right? I mean, because there's still school districts, like education, for example, is all over the board with this, right? Some are adopting it and making sure that it's part of the curriculum for public and private. Some are banning it outright still to date, and there's just nothing standardized around how are we going to get people to there again. I think there's just this gap that's just going to get wider and harder to reabsorb people. So we need some standardization right across education.
Well, and you're pulling on a lot of threads here, right? So
I am, first thing and I'm falling apart, Leah. That's what's happening.
Okay, well, I don't know if I can help you here, but let's talk about this. So, I think schools have actually remarkably moved faster on AI adoption of any sort than I would have ever expected, right? Schools have historically been very slow to adopt anything new. But I think they're a challenge where they also have a workforce who were challenged with just going to remote learning and using Zoom. Yeah. So when you have a workforce who's in charge of educating, and now there's this new prolific technology and a bunch of people who are in person, hands on, a lot of times they're high energy and really great with working with kids, but that doesn't mean that they are AI experts in any way.
Right.
So how do you bring them all up? I don't know how you bring them all up that fast. In fact, you probably don't. You end up having, I already laughed because I was thinking about this. I grew up in a very small town. I don't know if you know this. I grew up in a very small town. And when I graduated from the 8th grade, we had 60 students.
Oh yeah, that was way smaller than mine. Yeah.
And we were in the same building from 1st grade to 8th grade.
Wow.
That's how small we are, right?
What is this little house on the prairie? What are you talking about?
I mean, it was kind of right. It was like right next door. And, you think about a school district that's that small.
Yeah.
Right. 500 total students end to end. You do not have the ability to have all these specialized classes. Yeah. Now, my kiddo is in a grade of 200, which isn't actually that much bigger, but it is definitely bigger. It's 3.5 times bigger than the grade I grew. Yeah. And he has a specialized writing teacher. Specialized, your specials like, music or art or gym or wellness or whatever it might be. But he has a specialized writing teacher that comes in and they do writing. And he has specialized science for a very long time. Like science didn't happen with your standard teacher. It happened with a science teacher in the younger grades that would they had a science room, and it was just like gym. Like you'd bring the class to the science room for
Your
science.
teacher was on a horse riding from town to town
Probably,
to
yeah. I
teach
mean,
you
we did have
all.
horse riding lessons as part of our curriculum, but if you think about it, right? The computer teacher is a special now, right? They have computers as a special, and they are coding in the lower grades. The kids are learning to code, but I
Yeah,
don't
that's
even.
happened in our area too. I mean, but it's related and yeah. Anyway, sorry, finish your.
But they're going to need a specialized teacher, or the computer teacher is going to have to quickly become technology teacher quickly have to become an AI expert because they're going to have the responsibility of not just teaching the kids, but also probably teaching the teachers.
Well, and that's where we're at. And again, I mean, just big picture, I can talk about some of this stuff because we publicly in our district we're grappling with that right now, and a lot of
Yeah.
districts are because we do have, we've been really working on getting mathematics scores back up again and performance data around that. And but there includes, and there are tools now, and there's with tools with guardrails that we're providing to teachers, staff, and students that are AI tools. And what kids are on their computers more because we everybody gets a Chromebook in our district that they work from. But there is this, and I understand why now too. There's also a contingent that are very concerned about the impact of just diving into the deep end of utilizing AI technologies at a very young age. Again, this relates to their devices and social media. Everything's all interconnected now, and having laptops every day.
Yeah.
Even though we use a software called Go Guardian, there are some things that I'm even as a parent and a board member, I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on
A
that
lot.
we've, and it's, but I think that like, as we kind of as I'm looking at the time, rounding this one out, or getting close to it, when I was in high school, one of the most profound classes, and I loved all my classes. I was a math geek. I mean, one of the most profound classes that I had that has impacted everything that I do to date was the typing class.
Yes. And they don't do that anymore.
No, they don't actually. It was the typing class. It was IBM Selectric 3, which back in
Oh,
the 80s that was the bomb on the typewriter. And we only had early days. We're starting to get, when I went to high school, early uh, computer labs, but it wasn't really quite all there yet. So it was a typing class, IBM Selectric, one of the most profound things that I continue, and I guess for me, and then I'll let you have a final thought-ish too if you want, but that to me, we've got to have that moment. We got to have that moment is what is it that we can do that's going to have a profound effect on our adult work lives, etc., careers that's AI related? Because I mean, yeah, we have Claude and ChatGPT and Grok. No, thank you, but that's another story for another time. But I mean, just all these, but it's just all over the map, and we got to have that. What's that thing that the youngins can learn now that they can take with them, and then maybe this will help close some of the gap that we're talking about. I don't know, but it's got to have that typewriter moment for me. So
it's actually interesting, right? I was thinking about you just said the typewriter. I'm like, wow, I remember typing class. And I remember typing class weekly when I watch my kid type,
yeah,
who doesn't type like I type. Fingers and fingers, one finger, not all of his fingers. And um, when I talked to him about research, like, because he's doing research for papers, and he's like, "Oh, I use Wikipedia," and I was like, "Do you use anything else? Like something to back that up? Anything that you do understand? People can go in and just edit that, right?" And it's like the mental shift of how kids think about the world and how they research and how they consume information is so different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy. All right, on that depressing thought,
I know. So I think we need to wrap it there. But but it's always a pleasure and going off on this mind bending note. But that's where we're at, kids. And I'm telling you. So keep getting synced with us, the talent sync.
yeah,
Listen in. We appreciate you listening in and just to our diatribes. And Leah, as always, it's a pleasure talking with you.
likewise. Have a great one.
You too. All right. Bye
Bye
now.
now.
Thank you for listening to the Talent Sync podcast, a Surveil Candy and Job Sync collaboration. More episodes soon. Subscribe to our podcast via your favorite podcast player today and stay synced with the Talent Sync.